Okay, on goes the glasses because I don't have this memorized, okay? I'm a little tired. I'm a little irritated because I was in one of our agents. I was in, a hearing today in Laguna for 3.5 hours fighting for their damn life, okay? So that's how this business is. And the deal was 8 months ago, and you forget about it, and you go on with your life, and everything's wonderful, and then you get notified. So just work at keeping your deals clean. Work at keeping your file clean. This is the office. I always get the paycheck first before the RLA. Then I find out about the deal, and you guys have closed it. So try to get some order. When you got a deal, get it in the pipeline as soon as possible. I promise I'll try and check right away because we're just following DRE instructions, okay? When you get to paper, what's the first thing, Millie, you see when you open up for an offer? What's the first thing that pops up?
The agency description.
Yeah. You know why DRE did that? So you won't make a mistake and have the offer signed before the agency form. That's why they did that. They never used to be connected. But by law, you have to have the agency form signed, the PRBS, and the WFA before you know the price of the property you're making the offer on. Because you got to disclose first, select, and conform. Lawyers can rip this up. If the agency is dated the next day, wow, whew, goodbye. Some people skip number 2. It's obvious. I work for United Real Estate. Why am I going to write it in the box? Tell me this of a show of hands. How many of you think you're a party to the contract when you sign page 10? Page 10, United Real Estate, 120 El Camino is right there, and you sign your... How many of you are a part of the contract? You're a party to the contract. How many think you are? Yeah, you're not. You're not part of the contract, just the buyer and the seller. And the only way you can get paid is if you fill out number 2. What? Yes, number 2 says from the very beginning, when this offer was written, United Real Estate was the office representing the buyer. They didn't bring in an offer for sale by owner. That's not an agency disclosure for the other agents. That is a legal document they put in there because agents lost their commissions in court. So DRE said, man, we got to put this right in and right at the beginning. Otherwise, agents could lose the commission on the deal when the lawyers try to attack a loophole. Does that make sense? Where we lose money is in loopholes. Well, I didn't know. No, you know. Fill it in, check the boxes, okay? Make sure you go from there. Do you have a cash offer if it doesn't check cash offer? Yeah, you don't. It means cash at the end of the deal. They may have even just said the full price of the offer at the bottom line. $1 million even. Cash at close. That doesn't mean the second day they were in escrow, they didn't go apply for a loan. Okay, so then they do have contingencies. And you're going to be fighting with that. But there is a paragraph in the offer that says your seller doesn't have to accommodate them if they didn't disclose that they were doing financing. Okay, when I mean accommodate, you can't kick them out of escrow, no. But what if an appraiser shows up and says, I need to go in the house? The seller says, no. That's not in my contract. I don't have to accommodate you. You appraise it from the street and get off my property. And I mean it. I'm calling 911. Get out of here. Yeah. Do you see what I'm saying? So be careful when you get a cash offer. Don't celebrate until you see on page 2 all contingencies removed. And on page 1, the cash offer is really cash. If it's not, it may be undisclosed financing, okay? There is a standard desk forms. If you write your offers yourself, you can disclose it. You can do it at home and things like that. But one of the things you cannot do now is technically you're not supposed to use a TC outside the company, okay? That's not Earl's rule to kind of like keep it in the family. That's DRE's rule to keep it in the family. And what it has to do with is money. When Annie has a TC in the office, there's money from the deal that is paying our TC, which means the TC is under the instruction of the broker because it's either the broker's listing or you are the agent working for the broker. The DRE is saying, wait a minute, This is money that goes outside the deal, and it's not under your company. So if they make a mistake, who's liable? She is. So they don't want you to do it. So just keep that in mind. You may be working with someone that you just absolutely adore. But you take a chance, because it'll all come out if there is ever a hearing on these little nuances of how you do things differently. Okay, you need to conform. Okay. Speaking of conforming, also, if you're making an offer, you guys do. You guys make a lot of offers on commercial property. You guys are spreading your wings, and that's a big check. Take classes, because the law and the Code of Ethics say, I think it's Article 16 of the Code of Ethics, I think it was modified in 2017, that you cannot sell commercial real estate without a background in it. So just prepare for a transition. You're going to sell a hotel, you're going to sell some vacant land, take some classes. Get to the board, take some classes. No, I did. If there's something that's really a big deal, you can also get a partner, or you can work with someone as a mentor in the office or in the business so that you cover that. So make sure that when you're doing your expertise, you're actually in the area. Oh, there's a big one. I can call Nancy tomorrow. Hey, Nancy, if I'm selling a property in Pasadena, do I need a city inspection? Yes, she'll tell me, right? Happened to Earl this morning. We closed in Orange County. That's why I was down there. The gentleman goes right up to the board. Mr. Knutson, did you see this form? No. Oh, this is the Orange County area disclosure. It has to be in your closed file. First 5 seconds. That's my good morning after the coffee, once they open the hearing door. So where are you going to find out? Nancy won't have that information. So you need to talk. See, in my day, we had a book. And you didn't go out, you didn't sell property beyond the book. That's it. That's the only place you could go, because you had a key for those houses. Now you can sell a house in San Diego, you can sell one in San Marcos, you can sell one in Santa Barbara tomorrow. All your cousin calls you and say, write this one for me. I'm on it. I'm on the phone with Millie right now. We're writing it up. Find out. Call an escrow in that area. Be a little proactive. She's got, how many files do you have open in a month, Millie?
20 to 30.
Yeah, that's one a day. So sometimes we might miss an area disclosure. Apple Valley might have one. Why would they? Well, because maybe there was an Air Force base or a prison or something. So wherever you're doing business, find out the area disclosures, or call a listing agent in the area that's in the MLS and saying, hey, you got a listing on 14th Street. Do you have area disclosures for that? Oh, of course I do. Could you send me one? Why not? Just find out. Area disclosures are critical, and that's how they're finding out if you're not someone who should not be selling in that area, and the other side will use it against you, okay? Yeah?
You can also call the city. If you just Google the city, there's a phone number to planning and building, and they'll be able to also tell you if there's requirements for that city.
Yeah, but I'm talking about non-judicial requirements, where the board comes out with an area disclosure. Those are the sneaky ones. The Orange County one, you got to call you can call the Orange County Board of Realtors, and they'll email it to you right away. But so yeah, either way, go to the local board in that area or something of that sort. So we talked about you got to communicate acceptance of the offer too. Okay, so if you send an email, if Janet sells my listing and I send her an email, we accept the seller signed your offer. That's acceptance. But if I don't have anything writing, I called her and I told her the offer was accepted, then I have to have my seller sign the confirmation line above the box on page 10. Okay, not the two at the bottom, that say either rejected or presented. Those are what they call polite disclosures. They're not required by law. But the one just under the seller's signature, if the property's sold, that one's a requirement if there was no other written notification, because if it ever goes to court, the offer was never confirmed formally. So be careful that they will consider an email confirmation. That's legal. But if it was just a phone call, hey, I'm opening escrow tomorrow, then get confirmation signed. Now, I've been falling for this one for a long time, and I found out yesterday it's not real. Say you close the escrow on my listing, my seller's going a little slow, he's a little old like me, he's one of my peers, he's one of my homeboys, So he wants 3 days after close of escrow to stay in the house, right? So what do? Do you send out an addendum and say seller gets 3 days after the sale of escrow? Oh, hell no. You're asking for huge trouble, okay? SIP is required. We've been making it optional. Earl's going to send you an email. It's required. SIP, seller in property. Why? Because the seller's insurance has expired when the house is sold. And everyone always tells Earl, no, we had the seller extend the homeowner's insurance. My insurance agent laughed at that. There's no such thing as insurance for a home you don't own. Did you take out a new renter's policy? Are you right? So it has to be a rider on the buyer's homeowner's insurance. And yes, that rider is going to cost $100 a day for real. So no free rides anymore. Your seller wants to stay 5 days in, get out the SIP and say, my buyer wants to put a binder on saying the seller's in the house for 5 days. Because if he falls down, who has to pay for his broken arm? Right. If he burns down the house, who has to pay for that? Buyer. There's been agents sued where no insurance company covered the house. Okay? This is right from DRE on Monday. Joel Carlson, who helped write the RPA. So they're not kidding. They're saying, don't let this happen to you. So SIP is like a required form if there's days afterwards. Don't just use an addendum. Settle these issues. Oh, they're good friends. Oh, yeah. Until their pit bull bites the neighbor, right? And then guess who inherits the problem? They do. Okay, so we covered agency. You're going to do it, right? Okay. Okay, you're going to communicate. Liquidated damages. That's always fun. I don't like to talk about liquidated damages, but the deposit is liquidated damages. If you're writing an offer that releases, or you're signing a counteroffer where you release the money to the seller, you just practically voided the offer. Because number 21 says if liquidated damages is removed from the offer is now void. Because CRR won't stand behind you. And you might lose your E&O insurance right that day. So it's a huge risk practicing commercial real estate in residential real estate. Release of deposit happens every hour in commercial real estate, not in residential. And the money in court, every deposit goes back to the buyer that went to court, even though they released it to the seller. All they have to do is file a lawsuit. And the judge says, number 21 was signed, the day the contract was signed. That means it's liquidated damages. It goes back to the buyer. But you know, we extended it 30 days and they still didn't close. He said, did you hear what I just said? The deposit belongs to the buyer. Dismissed. And the seller has to return it. So be very careful. And if the seller doesn't have it, because they went with Earl to Las Vegas, then you know who's going to pay? The agents have to have the pockets to pay this stuff. So just be a little careful. If you increase the deposit, they say they want another $10,000 6 days later, or a week later, or for an extension, an ETA. Do the form RID. Raise initial deposit. So now we went from $10,000 deposit to $50,000 deposit, but now it all goes into liquidated damages, which allows the buyer to get it back. If you don't, it's automatically the seller's money. Did you know that? Yeah, because it's not covered under the initial deposit. Liquidated damages is only the money that's first in escrow. It's not money later on. So that money the seller can demand, and you have no recourse. The escrow will tell you, no. We're only negotiating for the initial deposit. The rest is the seller's. He wants it, it's his. That's on the amendment. You're not going to get around that. You're not going to argue that to anybody. Oh, arguing. I'm going to cut it short. Arguing. Let's argue. Nobody wants to mediate in Beverly Hills. Come on, you have lawyers. Lawyer up. This is a real dispute. And good lawyers, right? Okay, here's the deal. Go read number 22. If you go ahead and you say, your client says, no, I'm going to just sue this guy. I'm not going to go to mediation with this guy. Oh, my God. I'll just sue. And he wins. He's not entitled to the legal fees at all to be paid by the losing party. Because paragraph 22 says, if any side refuses to mediate first, they cannot recoup anything, even they win. So he won, but he lost. And they'll be mad at you, so who are they going to come to for the money? Earl, you didn't tell me. I didn't know. Doesn't work that way, right? So what's mediation? Mediation is the right to agree or disagree, which means your client can walk in and say, is this a mediation? Has it started? Okay. Do you want to talk? No. I disagree with him. And the mediator is not an arbitrator. He'll say, is that all you have to say? Yes. Let me know when we're done. And he has to, it's done. The quota is done. It's not a big deal. Arbitration, try to avoid arbitration. Never have arbitration initialed on the RLA. Just cross it out. Never on a listing, initial RLA. I know you're going to do it. Don't do it. You know what? You know why? This is weird, but think about it. The seller gets in a dispute with the buyer over the money, or over the fence, or over a room that doesn't have permits. The RLA means you're tied to the arbitration as a party. As a party, which means the arbitrator says, oh, Mr. Knudsen's not here today? Oh, send him a notice. He's a party to this. And if a party means that you go to the party and you have fun, right? So the arbitrator legally has the right to say, okay, so someone lost $15,000. Earl, you're kicking in 9. I have to abide by it. I'm a party to the transaction now. Because I had my client's I initialed arbitration. Don't initial it. On the selling contract, yes. On the listing agreement, never. Can you remember that? Okay. Because you don't want to be a party. You don't want to be a party to something that you're not a party to. Right? You'll help your client. You can console them. You can take them for a drink. You know, I know that guy's genius. But no, you can't say that the guy's a jerk. Excuse me. There are, Northern California, right? Say no more. If you libel another realtor, that office, they're so greedy, or that agent is underhanded, you got to be careful. Agents are filing libel suits on other agents. Their friends said, did you see what that guy put on Facebook about you? Go after them if they do put it about you. Go after them. Libel is libel. It's money. You can. If you really have a complaint, like they won't present your offer, discrimination, you go to the board and you file a report. It'll take you 20 minutes. And they will investigate it. They will make the phone calls to the broker. If they're the broker, they will talk to them. So everybody understands, don't mess with you. You're actually someone who responds to everything around you. And the highest amount of violations, how many violations did I say in the last meeting? In 2017, how many? Okay, CRMLS has, I think, 37 office boards of realtors in it. Guess how many violations were in the CRMLS throughout the state? All of CRMLS. 47,000 in 2017. And most of the violations are filed by agents on other agents. Okay? We're going to start screening your listings. And if we tell you don't say something, it's not because we're just playing with you. It's because it will cost you money. If you download a Google Map picture and you put it on your land because you don't want to drive to California City, that's a $1,500 fine from Google, and they find it in 1 minute. They have the software to find it, and so far they've never negotiated $1 off. They don't negotiate. They want the $1,500. They're a profit corporation. Okay? So don't take on anything you don't own. You want an aerial picture, you got a guy with a what's that thing called? Drone. Yeah, thank you. So, what was it called again? Drone. Okay. Oh. Okay, do that, or draw it, or but always have a picture of something. Take a picture of land. They won't know. Just put it in there. Earl, it's in the desert. Look at those trees. It looks like Arrowhead. I don't know. But the fact is, you got to own your stuff. Whatever it is, own it. It's yours. The picture's good or bad, own it. Don't use anybody. Don't use the previous agent's stuff. The software will kick it out. It's not even that they'll think on you. The software identifies it. that somebody else owned it, and it's a copyright violation. And if you're going to do a nice, what do they call that stuff, when you do a website? No. When you do a website, IDX, when you do a website in China or in another language, make sure that you had a form. What's that form, Janet? That you own the pictures.
Oh, there's one in Zip Forms, yes. It's a new one that basically says...
It's a new one. So when you pay a photographer, you give him that. You have him sign it, that you own the pictures. Because some of the photographers in Northern California are saying, hey, you didn't tell me I was going to have pictures in China and Singapore. I want $500 now for that one picture that you published. You know, that I just said, you said you're going to just put it in the MLS here, right here locally. So this is money. Money costs money, and people are serious about that. Take pictures. So ask, you know, who owns the rights, you know, and or at least for the period of the listing, you own the rights with no extra fees. If he says no, I retain licensing rights. Say great, but for 120 days on that photo, if I put it in a listing overseas, I want free use of it or something of that sort. Okay, we covered deposit.
Can you talk a little bit about walking distance? That's really important.
Yeah. I'm on the grievance committee. We fined someone from saying walking distance to like Temple City High School. I feel so good. But the thing is, it's discrimination against a crippled person. You can say conveniently near, in the proximity, go look, almost there, but you cannot say walking distance. Okay, that's a fine. That's $150 right there. So what I said was we're going to screen everything. We're looking for catchphrases, and we're going to tell you take this out, or I'm going to take it out. Because I'm going to save you $150 per sentence, okay? Let me take it out. Don't get mad. You'll just see right there, house is green. No, but what the technical thing is, the description in the first box can only have description of the property. Ask yourself, is it a description of the property, or am I telling them how close it is to the Shilai Temple or something like that? That's discrimination. You didn't mention all the other churches within the same distance. But that's the big one. Oh, now the HUD's really going to love you. They're going to put you away. Yeah, so, right. You're steering a certain race of people towards a property. Yeah, there's also cases where I just listed I didn't list anything. But let's say I listed a $5 million property and I call Facebook and I say, I want you to find me. I want to put an ad, but I don't want it, you know, everywhere. I just want it in people who may have bought an over $1 million property in the last year to 1,000 homes. So it may end up in West LA and it may end up in Pasadena. No, HUD is saying you can't do that. You are target marketing people who are only qualified to buy it. You can't do that. You can't say just that price range or have experience in buying $1 million homes. No. You just got to tell Facebook just the vicinity, just a geographic block, you know, or 6 blocks or whatever. You got, right? Okay, yeah. Be very careful on stuff like that. Okay, so repairs in escrow. You're going to do them because you have retrofit out here, don't you? What is that? I still don't. But anyway, save the receipts and upload them. So far we're uploading. But they do say any kind of plumbing receipt, whether it was a requested repair or not, upload if it was during escrow. So always upload. If it's a handyman and it's just on a napkin, upload it. But the law does want you to use licensed plumbers, licensed electricians, okay? So you could have told the seller, if you want your cousin to fix it, have him do it before I put the sign in the yard. Okay? But not after. You have to have legitimate paperwork, because if something goes wrong, then you have to put it in the transfer disclosure statement that you know that his cousin did the wiring 3 weeks ago. Okay? So be real careful, and you've got to disclose everything too. TDS is really important. I want TDSs, even on really a trust file. I know it says on the ESD, if it's a trust file, you don't have to do it. No, I want that guy dead. I want it probate. You know what I mean? I mean, when the primary owner is not living. But if the primary owner has 15 properties in the trust, and he's just saying it's a trust sale, and he lived in the house the last 5 years, he should fill out a TDS. And that's not from Earl, that's from the DRE. So when a listing agent says, no, it's a trust, my guy doesn't have to do it. Politely send an email saying it's my fiduciary responsibility to let you know in writing that your seller, by your own admission, he's occupied the property the last 2 years, and he should fill out a TDS. He just holds title in the trust, but he didn't pass it to another beneficiary in the trust. He's selling it himself, and he is the beneficiary. So he should fill it out, okay? If they're a corporation, this is what judges say. I don't have any law on it, but a lot of flippers will tell you, I will not do a TDS, I'm a corporation, I never lived in the house. But the ones that have sued flippers, the judges have always sided with the buyer. And the judge asks, really, you flipped it, you made the house nice? Yes. Did you do the work yourself? Oh, of course not, I had a contractor do it. Okay, bring in the contractor's bid and give it to the buyer. And you can circle the ones you refuse to do, so that he knows which repairs you made and which you didn't. Yeah, so be careful. You know, if you got a guy who's an investor doing them, then maybe tell him, if you don't want to do an actual TDS and everything, go ahead and have a physical inspection before you put it on the market and give it to the buyer with the offer and say, sign the bottom of this, that you read this inspection report with the counteroffer. So that anything that needs to be disclosed kind of is disclosed. Because usually roofs are old and electrical is old on flips, right? They only fix what you see. They're not going to fix things that you don't see, right? I mean, they're going to put their money where it counts, right? I mean, it's just logic. So just realize some of them are still, they need a lot of work. Okay, don't do any property management. What do I mean by property management? Touching a rent check. Don't do it. That's the definition legally of a manager, is the person who collects the rent. That's the actual legal. You collect rent, you got to have a broker's license, or you violated the law of California. No, forget about like a hearing at the board. California law. Don't touch a rent check. Don't send it to the office, because we can't give a receipt. If we can't give a receipt, we can't enter it into a trust. It wasn't made payable to us. So now we're stacking up the violations. Okay? And what if the rent check isn't the right amount? Who's liable for the remainder? Well, you collected the rent. Your office, you know, what if the check bounces? Be really careful not to. You may have investors that need help. Have someone in your back pocket who does property management, sometimes and refer it, you know, and make sure. But I know in a lot of Asian culture, the guy lives in China. You speak his language, you need to have that contact with them, because if they hire someone else, they'll sell it through that person. So it's a catch-22, but you'll figure it out and not get Earl, don't get Earl upset with it. Yeah, you will figure it out, right? Just figure out a way around me and you're going to be okay, okay? Do not allow agents, I did, yeah. Advertising, I told you about that. You put your license number on everything, right? Everything. Even text messages, actually. Yeah. Well, at least your open house signs, your ads, things like that. Any first contact thing, have your BRE or DRE license there, okay? Always do that. And anytime you have a question about an ad, ask, what's your name again? Janet. Ask Janet, because she's looking at ads all the time on what saves money, what's effective, what they cost, and so we're kind of up on this. If you put someone on your listing, you go out of town, and you say, Earl, could you watch my deal? Have me sign an agency form for that property. If something goes wrong, the seller can say, your office had a non-authorized agent in my house, and I was robbed at the open house. I'm suing you for damages. So always, if you're going to have someone sit and take over your work when you're out of town, have that agent do an agency form. It's simple. If you're going to be on vacation, have somebody do an agency form, even if you don't pay them. Because we're really worried about the liability. We're not fighting over money in-house. It's whatever you work out with that person, right? So it's just a question of,
What if you are in town and you have someone sitting on your open house?
you're cool. You don't need an agency form for that because we all have other people doing open houses. But we are coming up with a list of things that they must do and must not do for your sake. Because we're having problems with people not locking back doors, you got to treat it like it's your own home. And they've got to treat it as if it's their own listing. It's not just something where they were watching the Dodgers, lose to the Brewers, No, they were ahead when I came in. So anyway, transfer listings. Same thing, if you extend or anything like that, do it. Your photographs, I told you about that. The board, I told you about that. Communicate everything. RID, I told you about that. COP, what's that? Oh, COP. Yeah, the buyer has to sell their house. If they have a home in escrow, get a COP. You want to know where it is. If they say, well, you don't have to, it's already in escrow. Okay, but then I need the escrow number, and on the counter honor, I want permission of the selling agent to talk to the escrow. Well, they won't talk to you anyway because it's confidential. Just say nicely, I know that, dummy. I just want to call them, introduce myself, and just say, is there anything I need to know? My escrow is going to close November 9th. Are you guys even in the ballpark of closing by November 5th? Oh, hell no. Then you know. Okay? You didn't ask any personal information. You didn't ask what the name of the buyer was or how much money. You just are checking if it lines up. Verify. So make those calls. If someone brings in an offer and they have a property already sold, it was a cash deal, it's solid, get a COP. Send it back with a counteroffer. Buyer to fill out the COP. And gives listing agent permission to follow up on that escrow. That without, Shall we go to big screen TVs? Do you already know all about that? Yeah. You know that, right? The bracket stays, the TV goes. Okay, was that hard? Yeah. The bracket stays, the TV goes. If you take out the bracket, they have to fill the holes nicely, but they cannot paint the wall. Because the buyer has to be able to see and inspect where the holes were, and if they want to put the same thing there again, it makes it easier. But if you paint it, then you're concealing the work that you did. So they don't want you to paint anything that you repaired. Okay? That's the new law. Okay. Oh, solar. How many of you had solar in your deals? Aren't they fun? Yeah, there are deals that have closed where the buyer moved in, and the first day the solar company knocks on the door and says, we're here to take off the solar. Right? Oh, you understand that. And if it was leased, you have to get the lease in escrow for your buyer. Your buyer has to qualify for that lease, like they're buying a car. And there are a lot of people that are turned down for the lease of the solar, including my client, for the lease. So then you've got to say to the seller and send over a request for repairs saying, buyer didn't qualify, seller either pays it off or we cancel escrow. Because they're going to come and take it off and they're going to leave your roof with holes. Okay? So be very careful with solar. Find out if it's a lease, get the lease, have escrow get on it, find out if it's assumable, get it approved. If it's not approved, get out of the escrow. Try not to go beyond the 17 days and fight to keep a deal alive when you don't have loan approval. It gets harder and harder for us to get you back your deposit for your buyer. I mean, 60-40. 60% I can close it, 40% I don't know. That's not good enough. After 20 days, 21 days, loan contingency, those are bad odds. It's got to be 95%, okay, that you know that it's going to fly. Pre-qual is not always the best thing because we found after pre-qual people lost jobs or, there's a lot of things that just doesn't matter. Is there anything else I can think of? You know what? I'll be back. I'll do it again. Yeah.
So some people are asking for the property images agreement. So then you can send that to your videographer and your photographer saying, I can use this. And I think there's certain different things that you can check off on, like how much
Right.
they've compensated and stuff like that.
Right. One last thought for you to think about. This blew my mind. In 2017, DRE and California State passed 400 real estate laws in 2017 that became effective in 2018. 400, not 40. Earl didn't get it wrong. 400. 46 of them have zip form changes. 40 of them are required by law. I don't know but 4 of them. Good luck. Okay, take classes. Take classes. When the board says they have an update, don't wait for me. Get out there and just, go to classes, because there is just things that you need to know. And I'll tell you, when you go to classes, there's always going to be one thing you hear that hopefully will help you get a deal so that you make more money because of the class. Not just you're just writing stuff down that you're never going to use, but that maybe you'll get an idea, or you'll hear something that will actually be a closing that you can use, or something beneficial, help you get a deal, or keep a deal and close a deal. So just keep in mind that's the nature of our business right now. Okay? Yeah. Okay, thank you.